poem to begin this morning. His spirit and his life, he breathes in all. Now on this cross, his body breathes no more. Here at the centre, everything is still, spent and emptied, opened to the core. A quiet taking down, a prising loose, a crossbeam lowered like a weighing scale, unmaking of each thing that had its use. A long withdrawing of each bloodied nail. This is ground zero, emptiness and space, with nothing left to say or think or do but look unflinching on the sacred face that cannot move or change or look at you. Yet in that prising loose and that letting be, he has unfastened you and set you free. I've always wondered why I often find it much easier to feel thankful for Jesus dying on the cross than for his rising from death 3 days later. I'm a natural pessimist, a sort of glass half empty kind of person, so that probably has plenty to do with it. But nevertheless, I've always felt slightly guilty about it, as if I'd understood about the resurrection moment that we mark today wrong. And I wonder if you feel the same way. Somehow death is easier to grasp than resurrection. This season I've appreciated the Stations of the Cross poems by the Christian poet Malcolm Guite, and we just heard number 8, Jesus is taken down from the cross. And it's that final line that I think sums up for me why I find the cross to be so important. Yet in that prising loose and that letting be, he has unfastened you and set you free. And last week, Bishop Justin, in his video talk, asked us, what do you need saving from? Or to put it another way, from what do you need to be made free? The deep understanding of every human heart is that we know that there is something wrong that exists within us and outside of us, and we long to be set free from it, but somehow we know we are unable to do it ourselves. This might be broken relationships or anxiety or fear. It might look like cynicism or doubt or generational trauma or the violence that we know exists in every one of our hearts. Jesus' death is the moment where God says enough is enough. This is the rescue moment. This is the moment of relief. It's the collective sigh of creation and humanity seen in earthquake and darkness, and in Jesus' cry, it is finished. And this is the moment when the connection between heaven and earth is restored, the kingdom has come, the king is on his throne, seen in this tearing of that star-embroidered temple curtain in two, and the exclamation of the Roman soldier, surely this man is the Son of God. This is the moment when humanity knows that nothing we do or have done to us can separate us, the created ones, from our Creator. So this is why I think I often resonate more with crucifixion than resurrection. It's that great sigh of relief. It's that release of all that has been. I personally just find that so liberating. But this doesn't make what we are here today to recognise, the resurrection, any less important. And Paul puts it plainly in his first letter to the early church at Corinth. He says, if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless, and so is your faith. It's pretty strong words. The writer Pete Hughes calls the resurrection the hinge point when everything changes. I like to imagine you're on a spinning playground roundabout. There's one up at the park, but I encourage you to imagine one of those old school ones from the days when playgrounds felt a bit more lethal. You can get some serious speed going. There comes a point, though, when you have to stop and you have to unwind and go in the other direction. Here's a little diagram that Pete Hughes developed that I found to be helpful as I think about the great arc of history. Everything in human history has been leading to the resurrection moment, from God's good creation on the left and our own humanity made in love, for love, but unable to return that love to God or to each other. Jesus entering the world in his incarnation, God in human form, restoring in the decreation of death the connection between heaven and earth. And so we come to our reading today, and where I have come to realize why we need Easter morning, because it allows us all to begin again. If Jesus' death is the moment when all evil is defeated and that great cosmic sign of relief, resurrection dawn is the moment of recreation. And at the beginning of our reading, we hear early in the morning while it was still dark. And this is the kind of opening line of all of the most powerful stories that we tell ourselves. And it's pregnant with the possibility of new beginnings. It's like the line, once upon a time, or like we hear in Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And we meet Jesus, our creator, again, in a new garden. We've experienced that great sigh of relief that evil has been conquered. And in the resurrection moment, we see that beginning of recreation when we start to put into practice what this new world order looks like. And this time, it's personal. Jesus meeting Mary is one of the most beautiful encounters in literature. It's inspired countless works of art, and it speaks so deeply to the human soul that longs to be seen and longs to be known. And Mary's grief is so real and it's so relatable. She's the one who's gone to the tomb to do that cultural practice, which cultures across time do, to return to the place of burial as a way of finding meaning in something that seems meaningless. And to add to the grief of losing Jesus, she now believes that he's a victim of grave robbing, which was so common at the time. And she's so overcome that she seems somehow unperturbed by the fact that she's speaking to two angels who are asking her why she's crying. And somehow, she's even unable to recognize Jesus himself. And maybe it's just one of those moments where you don't expect something, and therefore you can't see it right in front of you when it is happening. Jesus asks, "Who is it you are looking for?" And she gives him a similar response as she did to the angels, this time mistaking him for the gardener. And then we come to this beautiful moment of personal encounter that still feels so fresh. Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned to him and cried out in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher. And then we know that she holds Jesus, creator and created, together. Mary will go and she will tell the others as Jesus asks her to do, and she becomes the first person to share the news of the risen Jesus with the world. It's the first day of the rest of her life, and it's the first day of the new creation. Now, we're warned to be cautious about our hyper-individualistic culture, that the world doesn't revolve around you. And that's a good warning because we need real relationship to love and live with each other well. But the resurrection story is the great love story of God, and it reminds us today that it is personal. It's always been about you. It's about discovering for yourself, just as Mary did, that Jesus is still alive and he's personally knowable, that he knows you by name, and that resurrection life courses through your veins. Accepting that this story is about you then somehow makes it easier to accept that the story is also about the person next to you, the one who can run faster, who is a different gender or ethnicity or political persuasion. It makes the story easier to share and less easy to hold to yourself. And the story of Easter is not just a history story, but one in which we get to continue to make our own new memories with Jesus as we walk our lives together, with him teaching us to love the world and each other as he loves. It's not always an easy life, but it is rich and it's full and it's a way of life like no other. So like Mary, this moment, this Resurrection Sunday is the beginning of the rest of your life, as is every moment. So what do you long for? I wonder, could it be that the answer to that question is not a what, but it's a who? Who is it that you seek? So today, in this moment, there is an encouragement for you to take the next step. And as you come up to communion in a moment, as you receive the bread and the wine or just a blessing, just encourage you to imagine that it's Jesus saying your name and receive his invitation, his seeing of you once again. And if you are looking to step for the first time into recreation, please come and talk to me or Richard or Heather about how we can help you to say yes to Jesus through baptism or through confirmation. It would be our deep delight to help you do that. But in the meantime, let me pray. In the prising loose and the letting be, Jesus, you have unfastened us and you have set us free. Jesus, we praise you for your great act of liberation for us. We ask that you help us to have the courage to respond to you, as in the growing warmth of the early dawn, lovingly you ask each of us, who is it that you are looking for? Amen.